So yes, today we are speaking about the scriptures. Perhaps this is one of the greatest gifts that Srila Prabhupada gave us. One time Srila Prabhupada, as we know, he was translating these books in the middle of the night. So one time he rang his bell very, very vigorously. So then the assistant came running into the room. It was the middle of the night and Srila Prabhupada was translating. So this assistant, he said to Srila Prabhupada, "Everything was okay, Srila Prabhupada? You need anything?" Prabhupada looked at him in the eyes and said, "Why are you sleeping?" He said, "Srila Prabhupada, it's the middle of the night." Prabhupada said, "It's also the middle of the night for me, but I'm not sleeping." He said, "But Srila Prabhupada, we were working, serving, doing so much service during the day." Prabhupada said, "I was also." He said, "But Srila Prabhupada, you're a pure devotee." Prabhupada said, "Why are you not a pure devotee?" Then he said, then he realized there's no point giving answers back here. He said, "Srila Prabhupada, what shall I do?" Prabhupada said, "Go back to sleep." Srila Prabhupada, in the middle of the night, while everyone was sleeping, Yanisha Sarva Bhutanam Dasyam Jagrati Samyami. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, what is night for the conditioned soul is the time of awakening for the introspective sage. So while the whole world was sleeping, Srila Prabhupada was awake. And he was spending his time, his energy in translating the ancient books of wisdom, the ancient Shastra, so that people could get a different type of vision. You see, we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. So if you change your vision, then you change your world. Everyone is coming in front of Krishna seeing the deity form, but who is actually seeing Krishna? One time Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was giving a lecture and someone, he walked straight past. He went to the deities, he paid his pranams. And then he came back, he walked straight past Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and he was about to walk out. And just before he left the room, Bhaktisiddhanta shouted at him and said, "How was your eye massage?" He said, "Eye massage?" Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him, "Don't think that you can see Krishna through these eyes. You have to sit down and you have to hear Shastra. If you hear wisdom and your consciousness becomes purified, then maybe Premanjana Churita Bhakti Velochanena Shantasya Deva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti." Maybe then, if you see with eyes which have love, then you'll be able to see Krishna. Otherwise, you'll not be able to see Krishna. Two people see the same thing and they see something completely different. Once there was a man and his wife and they were looking at another couple. And this other couple, the man walked up to the passenger seat, he opened the door very nicely. The lady walked in and then he closed the door very nicely. And this couple was watching and the wife looked at the husband and said, "Just see, the marriage is new." And the husband looked back at her and said, No, the car is new." Interesting, eh? People can see the same thing and come to different conclusions. All depends on vision. All depends on, you see, darshan, if I say to you darshan, darshan doesn't just mean what you see with your physical eyes. Darshan means, in English they say, your worldview. How you're seeing things through your consciousness. Isn't it? In some cartoons they used to have someone and in his eyes there is only the dollar sign, isn't it? Everywhere they look they see only money, opportunities for money. So it's very, very hard to change someone's vision. In the Nishinga Purana, there's a story of one wife, she wanted to change her husband. Of course, impossible task. So then the sadhu came to her home. She said, you take him on pilgrimage everywhere. Maybe he'll learn something from you. He'll change his mentality. So this saintly person took him to all the holy places. He came back with his husband. He said to his wife, this guy is useless. There's no opportunity. I took him to all the holy places and he didn't change his consciousness. The wife said, no, you have to try. One more, you try something you have to do to change him from this materialistic mentality. So he said, okay, I got one last idea. I take him to Varanasi. If you ever been to Varanasi, you go there on the bank of the Ganga, there are open pyre funerals taking place. The body is burning. So he took him to Varanasi, they came to the bank of the Ganga, and right there at that moment, a funeral was going on. And they put the body on the wood, and then the body started burning. You can imagine, it's a shocking sight. So they were both looking, the sadhu, this man. And then the sadhu looked at the man and one tear fell from his eye. The sadhu thought, finally. So then he looked at this man and he said, so what is your realization in this moment? The man said, all my life I spent trying to make money, trading this metal, trading this kind of cloth. But now I realize that if only I had traded in wood, maybe I would have made more money. And the sadhu thought, my God, it's so difficult to change people's vision. But yet there is one thing that can change our vision, and that is Shastra. Shastra can change the way you look at life. You see, today I was talking about darshan, isn't it? Darshan means what you see. What you see in this world, your darshan or your world view, how you see life, is made up of three things or two things. Your condition, this is called nature. Each of us, when we come into this world, we have a certain nature. We have a certain condition from previous lives, isn't it? Sometimes you see there are twins, but they are, although identical, they're actually completely different in personality. Because every single person has a different condition, a different nature, because they've done different things in their life, in previous lives, and therefore they have a different psychology. And the other thing that determines our vision of life is our interaction. And this is called nurture. Isn't it? Some of you may study psychology, and what they say is the way you view life is a combination of your nature and your nurture. Because as you grew up in this world, you had different interactions, you interacted with different people, you went through many different things in your life, isn't it? For example, if in someone's childhood, they went through a very, very difficult situation, then for their whole life, that stays with them often. If someone mistreated you in your early years, then later on in your life, it's very difficult to put trust in someone. Therefore, our vision is also made up of our nurture. However, there's one thing that can change your vision. Even though we have a certain nature, and even though we have a certain nurture, what most people in the world don't know, that by connection with Shastra, even though you may look at the world in a certain way because of nature and nurture, you can actually change the way you see the world. And therefore, Shastra is the most valuable thing we have in our life, Because you may have noticed that you can't change what happens to you, isn't it? Can you change the fortunes that you'll have in life? It's beyond your control. Can you change the way people will act around you? It's beyond your control. Can you change your karma to some extent? You can't. It's destiny. Whatever lines are on your hand already will determine so many things. So we can't control all the things outside of us. But what we can control is the way we see it, the way we relate to it. And that's why if someone spends time changing their vision by connecting with Shastra, even though their life may have so many challenges, difficulties, obstacles, they will always be able to find opportunity. They will always be able to find Krishna. They will always be able to find a way forward and be positive. Therefore, our teachers say that you should make the books of wisdom, the Shastra, you should make them your best friend. Sanatana Goswami, he says, Madekabando Madsangin, Madguru Madmahadhana, Manishtaraka Madbhagya, Madananda Namostute. He looks at the Srimad Bhagavatam and he says, the Bhagavatam is my best friend. The Bhagavatam is my constant companion. The Bhagavatam is the Guru, is my greatest source of happiness. The Bhagavatam is constantly lifting me up. And therefore, he says, I always carry the Bhagavatam close to my heart. And so if we're wise, then we will take advantage of all of these spiritual literatures that have been given to us by Krishna and by all of our teachers. There are so many different types of scriptures. If you see here on the screen, these are all the different types of scriptures that are available to us. The first type of scripture is known as Mula Grantha. These are the fundamental, foundational, the root scriptures. What do you think is the fundamental root scripture which teaches us about all the major aspects of life that we need to learn? The Vedas? Yeah, but the Vedas are many, many books. All of these books will come under the Vedas, but specifically within the Vedas, Prabhu says Vedanta Sutra. Any other ideas? Upanishads, very good. Puranas, okay. Okay, yeah, these are all going to come somewhere. There is an ancient analogy which is given. Sarvapanishado gavo dokta go palanandana vatsapartha sudhir bhokta dugdam gitam mritam mahat. That if you compare Sarvapanishado gavo, gavo means right, cow. So if you compare all the scriptures to a cow, then there is one person who is milking the cow. Dogda, who is that? Gopalanandana. Krishna is milking the cow. And when Krishna milks the cow of all the Vedic scriptures, then who is drinking? Arjuna, Partha Vatsa. Arjuna is like the calf drinking. And what is the milk that is coming out of the cow? Essence, which is Dugdam Gitam Mritam Mahat. And therefore the Mula Grantha, the most important scripture which teaches us about the most fundamental truths of life, is Bhagavad Gita. And also we can say Upanishads, and of all the Upanishads, the foremost is the Ishopanishad. So if you want to learn all the basic truths of life, then you study Bhagavad Gita. One time again, Srila Prabhupada was translating in the middle of the night, and he rang his bell again. So the servant ran in again and So he said, everything is okay, Srila Prabhupada. And then Srila Prabhupada just picked up the Bhagavad Gita and he gave him the Bhagavad Gita in the middle of the night. So he took the Bhagavad Gita. So he said, yes, Prabhupada, like, what do you want me to do? And then Prabhupada said, just read this one book and you will become perfect. So, is there anything else you need, Srila Prabhupada? Srila Prabhupada said, no, you can go to sleep now. I just woke you up to tell you that. So yes, the Mula Grantha is Bhagavad Gita. So learn Bhagavad Gita well. Try to understand. Every question that Arjuna asks Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is a question that you will ask at some point in your life. And therefore, if we read these books, then it gives us the foundation. But then there are Siddhantika Grantha. Siddhanta means philosophical books. I thought the Gita is a philosophical book. It is. But there are books which go into even greater detail about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And those are the Sandarbhas and also commentaries. The Gita is a book, but the Gita also has many, many commentaries on it that you can read. If you ever watch a video of Srila Prabhupada translating the scriptures, then what you will see is that as he's translating into his dictaphone, there are many, many books in front of him. And he's looking at all of them, and he's looking at the Siddhanta or the philosophy in all of them, and then he's extracting the essence, and he's putting it into his books. So there are also Siddhantika Grantha. These you can read. There are also Vedic Grantha. Books which are like handbooks, which teach you how to actually practice Krishna consciousness. You see, these books are teaching you philosophy. But then you have to ask yourself, how do I live this philosophy? How do I practice this philosophy? How do I actually develop this love that is being described in these literatures? Therefore, the Vedic Granthas are books like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, books like Upadeshamrita, because these books actually give you the guidelines of how to actually awaken the spiritual consciousness that is being described in all of these other books. And then there are books which are very much to do with the name, the qualities, the pastimes of the Lord. That you already mentioned. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. These books describe what does God do, where does he live, who are his friends, what does he eat, what time does he wake up, what does he do when he's annoyed. All the different details of God's life. One politician, he went to India and then he came back. Then he was just about to start a meeting with all his ministers, and they said, hang on, before you start the meeting, tell us something you learned in India. So he thought for a second, then he said, I learned in India that Krishna is definitely God. So, wow. How did you come to that conclusion? He said, because when I saw pictures of all the other gods, some of them were meditating, some of them were doing austerities, some of them were creating the universe. But whenever I saw a picture of Krishna, he was just having a good time. Therefore, I concluded he has to be God. Because the guy on the top doesn't have any work to do. They just have a good time. So Krishna has a good time in the spiritual world. He's dancing, he's singing. Nietzsche, you know Nietzsche, German philosopher. Nietzsche, he was famous because he said, God is dead. He made a statement. But in his biography, if you read, later on he made another statement. He said, I will only believe in a God who knows how to dance. He said, if you ever show me a God who knows how to dance, then I'll believe it. Because in many conceptions of God, God is very serious, He's very stern, He's very sober, and He's sitting on a big throne, throwing thunderbolts, do something wrong. But when you look at Krishna, He's dancing, He's singing, He's wrestling, He's stealing, He's joking, He's doing so many beautiful things. So if you want to know all about what Krishna is doing in the spiritual world, how he's interacting with his devotees, what happens up there, what do they do there all day, then you can read Bhagavatam and you can find out what they're doing all day. One time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, we should have a daily newspaper. So one devotee said, but Guru Maharaj, we will run out of things to talk about. They have a daily newspaper in the world because new things are going on in the world every day. If you make a newspaper about, after some time we will run out of Shastra. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, you don't understand. The pastimes of the spiritual world are unlimited. And the pastimes are being revealed in the hearts of the devotees unlimitedly. So it's a very, very interesting, very beautiful place, the spiritual world that is described. And then the final type of Shastra is the Shastra which is written by the Acharyas. And this is known as Prarthana. What does Prarthana mean? Prayers. So then there are very beautiful prayer books, isn't it? Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Narottam Das Thakur. Saranagati Bhakti Vinod Thakur. They once asked Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, how can I get love for Krishna? He said, you only need 2 paisa. Go to the market and buy Prarthana. Buy this Prema Bhakti Chandrika and sing these songs, because in these songs all the philosophical conclusions and all of the mood and emotions of the devotees are coming together. And therefore, these are all the scriptures that you can read, and there are many, many, many more. This is a lifetime of reading, a lifetime of absorption. But this is how you can actually change your whole vision of life. Nowadays, what happens is many people like to listen to lectures. And they get all their information from lectures, which is nice. YouTube, Instagram, you can listen. But when you listen to someone else, then you are getting the essence of what they've studied, which is nice. But when you study the books for yourself, when you read the books in your own time, when you shut the door and say goodbye to the world and you just spend time reading the Bhagavatam, then you get a different type of realization. So we have to develop this taste, because most of us, when we read books, even most of us when we hear a lecture, it's very difficult to stay awake, isn't it? Sleep, laziness, ignorance is always coming over us. Once I gave a class, a devotee at the end said, it was an amazing class. I said, what did you like about it? He said, you ended on time. That was his measure of a good class. Because nowadays people can't hear. It's very difficult. In Bhagavatam it said, Prayenal Payushaha Sabhya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Yubadita. This is like this spiritual life in Kali Yuga is very difficult. You know why? First problem is Alpa Ayusha. You have a short life. You don't live for so long. In the UK, if you live for 100 years, then the Queen will send you a letter of congratulations. It's true. Problem is, by that time your eyesight is finished, so you can't even see it. So the first problem in Kali Yuga is you don't have a long life. Life is short. Here today, gone tomorrow. But then Vishwanath, he says, but even if you have a long life, the next problem is manda, lazy. Even when you have time, you say, oh Prabhu, I really want to study, I really wish I had time, I really wish I had. And then one day time opens up. And then you open the book. And immediately, you're thinking about the notifications on your phone instead. Because we're lazy. Even if we had a long life and we have time, the next problem is manda, you're lazy. So then you can't. But then Vishwanath says, the next problem is, even if you have a long life and you're not lazy, you're enthusiastic, the next problem is sumanda mati. We don't have the intelligence. So we are reading the book, we've got the time, we're enthusiastic, but we read the book and we're completely baffled. In one ear, out of the other ear. We can't understand even what all this scripture is telling us because it's too complex, isn't it? You sometimes read the books and think too complex. I didn't understand. One devotee, he read one chapter in the Bhagavatam, Purusha Shukta explained. And after reading the chapter, he said, I still don't know who is Purusha, what is Shukta, and what is being explained. Completely baffled. So Vishwanath says the next problem is we don't have the intelligence to understand. But Vishwanath says there's a solution. You can go to someone who does know. But then he says the next problem is manda bhagya. You're unfortunate because then you go to hear from someone who cheats you. Bhogi yogi. There are many bhogi yogis in the world, people who will tell you. Once we used to do a play called Bhogi Yogi. And so the yogi, he says to the man, I will give you the mantra. I will give you the mantra by which you will become self-realized. So the man says, yes, please, please you give me. Then the man says, first give me your Rolex watch. So the man hands over his Rolex watch. So then the yogi says, see, you have received the gift now. The man says, what do you mean I received the gift? He says, I just gave you my watch. You haven't done anything for me. He said, now you have become timeless. So it's like that. There are so many people out there who will cheat you. But then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the verse, he gives the final thing. He says, even if you have a long life, and even if you're enthusiastic, and even though you're unintelligent, but you're sitting in front of someone who can give you the knowledge, the final problem is Upaduta. Once you come to hear from that person who can tell you, the mind is so disturbed that we can't focus. That is basically our problem. Whenever we come to hear any philosophy or read philosophy, our mind is in 100 places. On the back of the car there was a sticker, do not disturb, already disturbed. Financial crisis, relationship crisis, career crisis, some crisis, some problem, something hijacking your mind, something preventing you from being present. And therefore, how many classes have we heard? But it just goes in one ear, out the other. Because our mind, chanchalam, imana, Krishna. so unsteady. So therefore, we should hear, but we shouldn't just hear classes. We should take the time to study the books and read them. Because Srila Prabhupada said, if you learn the art of how to read the Shastra, then you will be able to see Krishna in every single page of the scripture. That's amazing. Srila Prabhupada said you will be able to see Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatam. But for that to happen, you have to develop a taste, a relationship. The Bhagavatam, the scriptures have to become your best friend. One of our devotees in London, he's an investment banker. It's a very, very busy life. And then some time ago I asked him, oh, what did you do last weekend? He said, oh yes, Sunday I was off, I was at home. So I said, what did you do? He said, it was very nice. At 9 o'clock I began reading Bhagavatam. I said, oh wow, beautiful. And I said, and then what did you do? He said, and then I just kept reading. And then I said, and then what did you do later in the day? He said, no, I just kept reading. I said, what time did you end? He said, I began at 9 o'clock in the morning and I ended at 10 p.m. at night. I said, that's beautiful. You read Bhagavatam for 13 hours in a row? He said, yeah. He said, time just flew by. Who can do that? Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam sukha mukhad amrita dravya samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvibhavuka pibata bhagavatam. My dear friends, drink Bhagavatam. But how will you be able to drink Bhagavatam? Muhuraho rasika. First you have to become a rasika. Rasika means one who knows how to taste. Connoisseur. When you know how to taste Bhagavatam, then you can stay with Bhagavatam and you can forget about everything in this world. But if you don't have good taste, then you will read the Bhagavatam and think it's a good cure for insomnia. Some people say. If you can't get to sleep, having trouble, don't worry. Just open the Bhagavatam. You fall asleep. Don't worry. You're going to deep sleep. Because no taste. Too many material desires in the mind, too many attachments, too many disturbances. So, today I'm just opening up for you a world that you may want to explore. This is the world of the scriptures. This is the world of the sages. This is the world of transcendental sound, which can transform your entire consciousness. So let me stop here and see whether you may have any questions, any comments, any complaints. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. So we've heard that, at least I've heard that in our culture, the one who's heard
Yes.
is more, like that's the thing which we focus on, Shravanam, more and more. And,
In Sanskrit, an intelligent person is known as Bahushruta. The literal meaning of an intelligent person in Sanskrit is Bahushruta. One who has heard many, many things very, very well. Sorry, that was...
So the same, I couldn't remember the word. So then how do we apply the reading? Because I might have my own validations of the reading which I'm doing. I might not have own validations for the hearing which I'm doing. So how to be clear that, I'm getting the essence from the person directly. And I'm
Yeah,
not
therefore
putting
we are reading, but then we are also coming to classes, then we are also asking questions, then we are also discussing with other devotees, and therefore Shastra is never understood in isolation. That doesn't mean you don't spend time with Shastra yourself, but after you've read, Then you can come to a Sangha like this, you can ask questions. After the Sangha, maybe you can speak with others about Shastra. Maybe today at Prasadam time, instead of talking about all the other things you could talk about in life, you could talk about Shastra. Therefore, yes, Guru Sadhu Shastra Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya, Narottam says that Guru Sadhu Shastra must be understood together. So always try to understand with others. I was reading Bhagavad Gita for 1 year when I was 15 years old. And after 1 year of reading myself, I was like, I think I'm going to be a scholar. Then I went to one class in the temple, my first ever class. And after 1 hour of that class, I became so humbled because I realized, my God, I learned more in 1 hour of this class than I learned in 1 year of my own reading. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't read. We should read. Then we should also, so that's why I'm saying Shravanam and Svadhyay are supposed to go hand in hand. They are not one or the other. If you only do Svadhyay study but you don't discuss and hear others' realizations, it won't work. And if you only Shravanam but you don't do Svadhyay, you will benefit from other people's realization but you won't find your own realization. You have to read the books and Krishna will speak to you in a very unique way.
So Maharaj, follow-up would be that we say that we are reading Bhagavatam and then there is studying Bhagavatam. So then what does it mean that if you have a shloka, you have the purport, what would it mean to actually study?
What does it mean to study? Okay. When you learn spiritual knowledge, it's like this. It's a spiral. Basically, when we're studying spiritual knowledge, we're studying the same thing. We're reading the same thing. We're looking at the same shlokas. But what's happening is that over time, we are going deeper and deeper and deeper. It's not that now, oh, Janmashtami is coming, there's a new story about Janmashtami. No, it's the same story. It never changed. And it never will change. It's an eternal, Nitya Leela. However, every time we hear it, we're going deeper and deeper and deeper. And in order to study and go deeper, you have to do a few things. First thing is you have to read repeatedly. I will now tell you something shocking. You only read a book when you read it for the 3rd time. If you really want to understand Bhagavatam, sorry to be the messenger of heavy news, you have to read it 3 times. Because first time you're just trying to figure it out. Second time maybe some familiarity is coming. But the 3rd time you read, you can really go deep. So first thing is studying means read the same thing many times. But not just that, read the scriptures broadly. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami says that Krishna Leela is like nectar and Gora Leela is like camphor. And they are both beautiful, but when they come together, the sweetness increases hundreds of times. So when you read the Bhagavatam, but you also read the Chaitanya Charitamrita and use what you've learned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to understand the Bhagavatam better and use the Bhagavatam to understand the Chaitanya. When you read broadly like this, many books, and you make the connections between them, then you get a deeper insight. Therefore, you have to read broadly, many scriptures together. Third thing is you have to read discursively. You have to read by discussing it and by hearing it from a teacher. Jaha Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavera Sthane. If you actually want to understand Bhagavatam, then you need to learn from someone who has understood Bhagavatam. And then, in order to go deeper, you also have to study practically. And what that means is apply what you've learned. And not only apply what you've learned, also serve and pray to Krishna. That now I'm serving you, you please allow this knowledge to go in a deeper place in my heart. And therefore, if you do these 4 things, then what will happen is your study of Shastra will be like a spiral. And eventually, one day, you'll understand the essence of it. When that essence touches your heart, then all ignorance disappears. Is that okay? Yes. Anyone else? Any questions? How to quickly develop the taste? As quickly is the operative word here, the most important word. Shorts, reels, Instagram, 30-second reel. It takes so long. Prabhupada said you can do it in a moment, but you have to be desperate. Because we're not desperate. The reason it takes so long for us to taste the sweetness of the message is because we are not open. We're not open to hearing. How is it that Arjun could figure it all out in 45 minutes? How is it that Parikshit could become completely prepared in 7 days? How is it that these people just hear a few times and then they're transformed? Because they're open. For us, we are not open. We're not desperate. We're kind of like, yeah, Krishna consciousness is nice, but the world is also nice. It's not such a bad place after all. Don't be too fanatical. Have a good, nice life here, and you can do Krishna consciousness. You can balance everything nicely. But only when one realizes this is urgent business. Time is going. And I have to develop my love for Krishna. I have to understand what's the goal of life. I have to prepare my consciousness for that final moment. Most of us are not thinking like that because we are just kind of comfortable in the world. And therefore, because we're so comfortable in the world, the urgency is not there. And because the urgency is not there, the words are not meaning so much to us. When you're in trouble, when you're in distress, and then you hear a class, my God, we are open. There's Smashan Vairagya. At the crematorium, everyone is listening to the speech. Because in that moment, the reality, the temporality of life is so much in front of our eyes. So what to say? How do we quickly develop the taste? Advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent on the attitude of the follower. And therefore, one should develop this desperation. The next question would be, how do I develop the desperation? For that, you have to become a very thoughtful person. You have to look at the world and realize, why am I here? What's my real job here? Every day we have to, before the life starts, we have to remember, why am I here? We have to associate with people who have grasped the real vision. Like this, we develop desperation. We have to see the suffering of the world. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukha dosh and darshan. Krishna says you should have darshan every day. Yes, I had darshan of the deities. No, Not just that darshan. You should also have the darshan of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. You should look at this world every day. Realize it's one big disaster zone. When I joined the temple, of course, there are always funeral programs because people have passed away. So whenever they would say, oh, there's a funeral program, I'd say, I want to go. My favorite was to go to all the funeral programs. Everyone was like, why are you so enthusiastic for the funeral program? Like, what's wrong with you? Because I knew when I go to these funeral programs, it helped me. It helped me to realize this life is so temporary. This life comes and goes. You're just in a transit lounge. I guess here you didn't have Mr. Bean, no? Have you ever heard of Mr. Bean? You have that?
Yeah.
I thought that was English. Mr. Bean is a comedian, you know him, right? One time he goes into a hotel and then he unpacks his suitcase and then he starts putting some nails in the wall and then he hangs up a picture of his family and then he looks and he sees, no, there's no ensuite bathroom here. So then from his suitcase he pulls out a chainsaw and then he chains through the wall. Creates ensuite bathroom. And then he puts flowers around the hotel room. And then over the door he puts a sign, home sweet home. And it's all completely crazy because he's just in a hotel room. And how many days are you going to be in a hotel room? Unpack your suitcase and then you got to pack your suitcase and you got to leave. No baggage over 23 kilograms. No. One baggage, 55 centimeters by 45 by 30. No more. How much can you take with you? So I used to go to the funeral programs. Remember, this is it. Once we drove to a funeral program, we parked in the crematorium, and as we parked into the car parking space, in front of us there were a whole sea of graves. And just as the devotee turned the ignition off, the satellite navigator said, "You have reached your final destination." My God. Today, even the GPS is giving a Gita class. It's coming. No one made an appointment in their diary for death. 72% of people in this world die without writing a will. Maybe they thought it would never happen to them. Or maybe they just didn't want to think about it. But it came. So I'm sorry. Here we are on a nice sunny Saturday morning in Phoenix. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you came here for a nice program to hear something very sweet about Krishna. And now the Swami has put the dark cloud of death over our heads. No one wants to. Like if you go to watch a movie, and then when you're on the way to the cinema, someone says, "Oh, where you go? I'm going to watch this movie." "Oh, that movie, you'll never guess what happens at the end." Come on, man. Like, don't tell me what happens at the end. If you tell me what happens at the end, how I will enjoy the show? So no one wants to think about the end. Then how you will enjoy the show? But the yogis, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. So what to say? These are points for us all to think about. Krishna consciousness is very, very sweet, but it's very, very serious as well. We smile, we laugh, but then we also try to give you a very serious message. So sometimes here we are saying some jokes and different things. There's a serious message here. When Hari Sauri, he was Srila Prabhupada's assistant, when he was in India, one time he came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, India, in India, you just can't control the crowds. Have you ever noticed? Indian people, when they are in a crowd, it's like impossible to control. So Srila Prabhupada said, you have to push them. So he said, push people? I mean, in our country, you don't push people, you know. Prabhupada said, no, you have to push. And then Prabhupada said, but smile. And then Prabhupada said, the more you smile, the more you can push. So this is what we do. We are smiling. It's all very nice, fun and games, lots of smiles. But we are also pushing. Because time is going. And then when we have that desperation, then maybe we'll really be able to hear Bhagavatam. Wife always gets the final word. No, actually they say in a husband and wife relationship, the man always gets the final word. Yes, dear. Yes. That's the thing. Okay, now you can. Yes. You see, in the beginning we're meditating on death because we need to create detachment. But later on we are not meditating on death, we're meditating on the beauty of Krishna. So it's not that till the end of life we are simply meditating on death. Oh my God, that would be a little depressing. But in this stage of our life, we need to see death, we need to become a little bit aware of the acute situation of this world. But because then it opens our heart. And when our heart is open, and then we can hear about Krishna, we can develop a desire to go to the spiritual world, then eventually what takes over is Krishna's sweetness. And once Krishna's sweetness takes over, you don't want to hang around in this world, not because this world is full of death, but you don't want to hang around in this world because you can't wait to be with Krishna. But right now, where is the question of having that kind of desperation for Krishna? We're still having so many things we want to do here. So first, like if I want to give you something, then the first thing is you have to put down what's in your hands. Otherwise, how you will be able to receive? Yes. Yes. So this is what Brihat Bhagavatamrita is telling. Brihat Bhagavatamrita is basically Sanatana Goswami. What he's doing in Brihat Bhagavatamrita is he's telling us through two stories the essence of the Bhagavatam. In the first story, Narada is trying to find out who got the most mercy from Krishna. And in the second story, Gopakumar is trying to understand what is the highest abode in this world. And at the end of these two stories, we realize the Gopis are the highest, and Goloka Vrindavan is the most confidential playground of God. So the Bhagavatamrita is basically the essence of the Bhagavatam, which is bringing out the most confidential type of love. But Yes, of course, Sanatana Goswami in those pages is also reminding us. Wow, that's a whole seminar in itself. How to distribute books. Yeah. Well, there's so many things to say about this, but the main thing when we're distributing books is you got to learn how to connect with people. First thing is when you stop someone on the street. Well, first thing is you have to stop them. That already is difficult. One time one man was going past me. I said, "Sir, do you have a moment?" He said, "No time." I said, "But we're distributing spiritual books." He said, "No time." I said, "But it might help you. It might give you something." He said, "No time." As he walked off, I said, "But anyway, have a good day." He said, "No time." I said, that was ironic. No time to be happy. No time to be happy. So people are going fast. So the first thing is you have to stop them. So don't try to jump on them or like rugby tackle them like American football or something, you know. But a smile is good. You'd be amazed that a smile is like a hook. So when people smile, you just look at them. How are you doing? Are you from town? You try to ask a question which will always elicit a positive response. Sometimes I go up to people and while they're walking and I just smile and I say, "Thank you for stopping." They're like, "I'm not stopping." "Thank you for stopping. Let's have a conversation." And then they stop. And so like this, first you have to stop them. And then what you have to do is you have to create a bit of a relationship with people. So learn something about them, try to tell them something about what you're doing. And then you have to understand the needs, interests and concerns of the people who you're trying to communicate to. So then you have to understand what are they interested in, what are they concerned about, what are their needs. And then you have to present the scripture in a way that they will feel, oh, this has some benefit for my life, this will help me. And like this. And the most important thing when you distribute books is in your heart. You have to have deep compassion. You have to genuinely want to help someone. And when you have that, people hear the language of the heart and they're much more willing to take. The other thing is that we have to embody what is written in the books. The best advertisement for the book is you. So if you're giving people chant and be happy, but you look completely miserable, then it may not work. So therefore they will say, maybe you should read this book first and become happy and then try and give it to me. It looks like you need it. So we should also live the books, read the books, understand the books, and then yes, we will be able to connect it to everyone. And on book distribution, you have to always be positive. Always positive. There's nothing negative. So that if you stop someone and they say, no, I'm a Christian, wonderful, we're trying to stop all the religious people today. No, I'm not interested, I don't read books. Of course, we know you're so intelligent. It's not for you, this is for your family. No, I'm not interested, I'm an atheist. Wonderful, finally someone who's actually thinking about these things. This is for you. There's never a no. Everything is great. Everything is positive. This is for you. We want you to benefit. So it's a great art. How to connect with people, how to amazing things happen on book distribution. If you want to see Krishna face to face, try and distribute books. I saw in my life, I was able to go Vrindavan many times by Krishna's grace. I was able to do seva on the altar. I was able to be in the midst of great holy people, sadhus. But still I have to say, my strongest experience of Krishna was while I was on the street distributing books. Krishna somehow became very active. I'll tell you an interesting story. Once I was traveling on Sankirtan, book distribution, and in the morning someone rang my phone. There were 20 missed calls from this number. But the number was just some number, it wasn't in my phone book. Who's calling me 20 times? So I tried to call back, but they didn't answer. So I thought, if they call me 20 times, it must be important. So I saved it as A in my phone book, first number. And I thought I'll ring them tomorrow and see who is this. 1 year went by and I didn't call that number. 1 year later, I was getting ready to go on book distribution and accidentally I called that number. Then I was watching it and then I heard it ringing. I said, oh, this number? That was from like 1 year back. That has gone now. So then I cancelled. That day, I went out on book distribution. In the middle of the day, someone stopped me and they said, this is amazing. Can I have one of every single book? So I gave them one of every book I had. And they gave a donation. And they walked off and then he came back 5 minutes later. He said, it's very strange that you should stop me today. Because this morning, a Hare Krishna phoned me. So I said, who is it? Maybe I know who they are. So he said, I don't know. He picked out his phone. And then he said, Sutapa. That was my name before. I said, you know who that is? I said, that's me. He said, what do you mean that's you? And then it clicked, oh, that number that I called. So I went to my phone. I said, is your number 0785? He said, how do you know my number? Can you imagine? I called that number, which was from 1 year ago, accidentally in the morning. And out of the millions of people in that country, I go on the street and I meet that very person on the same day. What is the chances of that? That can only be Krishna. So if you want to see Krishna, then reach out to others, give them, and Krishna will help you. Krishna will empower you. Krishna will give you the intelligence. Sometimes I saw people distribute books without even saying one word. I've seen that also. When devotees are very connected, I've seen one devotee, it was so cold once we were distributing books in -10. It was so cold. You couldn't take your hands out of your pocket and you could hardly speak. So he would just stop people and show them the book without saying. And then he just pat his back. And they would just understand, oh yeah, the book's for me, I have to give money. Amazing. So try it. Don't try it immediately. Just say something, try that one first. And then once you become more accomplished, then you can try the other technique. It's a magical thing. Krishna is very kind. And Krishna says, Nachatasman manushyaishu kashkim me priyakritama. For one who explains this knowledge to others, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than that person. So you've got a big field here, Phoenix. So many people. Marathon is coming. So try to put Phoenix on the map in book distribution. That would be nice. I'm okay to take, but I don't want you to feel that my class was bad because I didn't end on time. So shall I go on or what shall I do? You are all nice, you will not say stop. But you have to be honest with me. Should I stop or should I carry on? Go on.
So,
You asked for it.
so Maharaj, in your inter program, you mentioned that the 360-degree gratitude. And usually, I've heard that you're grateful for all the suffering, everything whichever Krishna gives you.
Mhm.
So it's all about, I am grateful. It's about the person who's going through Krishna consciousness. But you mentioned that you should be grateful for somebody else receiving the mercy. And that was something new. And like, I've never been grateful for somebody else taking, Krishna's mercy. So how do you contemplate on that or practice that?
Prataparudra wanted so much to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu said, I will not meet a king, someone who is so materialistically entangled. But then Ramananda Rai, he was working under Prataparudra, and Mahaprabhu said to Ramananda Rai, you please come to Jagannath Puri so we can discuss every day. So Ramananda Rai, in order to go to Puri, he had to get release from his government service. So he went to Prataparudra. Now can you imagine if there's something that you want so much and you can't get it, and then someone comes to you who's receiving that very thing? Naturally in our heart there will be so much envy. But Prataparudra, he was so happy. He was so happy that Ramananda Rai received the favor of Mahaprabhu, even though he was not able to achieve the same thing. That is Vaishnava. They are happy for others. Because they see, here is my wonderful Lord who is giving mercy. Whether he gives his mercy to this person or he gives this mercy to me, the main important thing is that my Lord is so merciful and he's so kind. And therefore, when we see, if we're really Vaishnava, when we see Krishna's kindness, even if it's expressed towards someone else, it will still bring about a happiness in our heart. Because we're not thinking, I didn't get the kindness, but we're thinking Krishna is giving kindness. And whether it's to this person or that person or me, that doesn't matter, but just see how amazing Krishna is. So this requires advancement. Because most of the time we are so envious of other people. It's very difficult to be grateful for them. What to speak about grateful? If we could stop being envious of them, that would be already very good. Like they did a survey and they said option 1, you can earn $25,000, but all your friends will earn $30,000. And then they said option B, you can earn $20,000, but all your friends will earn $15,000. Option D. Why? You get $5,000 less. Doesn't matter. At least I'm better than everyone else. That is our mentality. Very envious. Keeping up with the Joneses. Or keeping up with the Patels. Whichever one it may be. Always competing, comparing. Requires some advancement. So how do we know that we're making progress in our sadhana? There are many classic signs that will show that your spiritual practice and your connection with Krishna is becoming stronger. The first thing is that your faith increases. There are less doubts. There is a greater conviction and confidence that Krishna will always take care of me. That you can understand my faith is increasing, my sadhana is good. Another classic sign that your sadhana is good is that your material desires will be decreasing. All of those things. The son said to the father, iPhone, iPad, iMac, iPods. The father said, I pay. So many desires, so much technology, so many things. But when your sadhana is good, then your material desire goes down. Those things that were so attractive to you before, Sukham, tucham. Another classic sign that your sadhana is very good is that your ability to just stay with transcendental sound vibration and not be diverted will increase. If we don't have good sadhana and spiritual practice, within a few minutes of hearing Hari Kirtan or Hari Katha, immediately our mind will be very restless, moving. But when we are advancing, then we can just stay and we can hear. Because now I'm with Krishna in the sound vibration. Another classic sign that your sadhana is good is that your character will change. Your lust will turn into love. Your anger will turn into tolerance. Your envy will turn into appreciation. Your greed will turn into satisfaction. All of these things will change in your character. And in this way, there are many signs that are there if you read the scriptures, which will help us to understand I'm doing good. And if we've been chanting for many years, but these things are not happening, faith is not increasing, material desires are not coming down, attention span is not going up, character frailties are not disappearing, then we can understand we are not doing it with the proper quality. And therefore, we need some attention. Is that okay? Any final question? Yes, sir. Okay, so we will give you a recording of this class and you'll have to remember here, what did I say? The first thing is if you want to connect with the Shastra, you have to read it many times, repeatedly, right? Secondly, if you want to connect with the Shastras, read many different types of Shastra. And then you'll go deeper. Third thing is if you want to connect more with Shastra, discuss it with people who have connection with Shastra. Okay? And if you want to connect more deeply with Shastra, then apply it in your life. Live it. Is that okay? Alright, so I think we can stop there. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai.